You're going to want to see this email I got. My husband keeps making big decisions and then acting surprised when I'm upset. Last month, he bought expensive concert tickets without talking to me. Then this week, he committed us to hosting his parents for a week, even though he knows I'm already overwhelmed. When I object, he says I'm controlling and that he can't do anything right. I don't want to be his mother, but I'm tired of finding out about decisions after they've already been made. How do I get him to understand that partnership means checking with me before he volunteers my time, money, and energy? Okay. If you're new here, my name is Dr. John Dabach, and I answer questions like this all the time. There's a description below this video or wherever you're listening to this podcast on how to submit questions just like this for me to answer in the future. If you're interested, let me start by saying the avoidance of telling you ahead of time isn't just about him not thinking that this is a partnership and not getting used to it. Unless he's a bachelor who got married at 50, and he's just used to never asking and considering someone else. That does happen, by the way. So if you guys got married very late in life and he was never married or in a very long-term relationship before, there are some selfish and self-centered tendencies that can arise. But if, which is the more likely scenario, you guys got married younger, or at least you've been together for a long time and he's just never quite adopted the mentality of considering you, chances are he's non-confrontational. He doesn't want to hear no, he doesn't want to get in a fight, and he doesn't know how to be collaborative. It could be a sign that he is even what we would call a dismissive avoidant. So the idea that confrontation is so painful that he'll just do things and then ask for forgiveness or sweep things under the rug. It really depends. It could be any one of those three. He could be self-centered and older. He could be just, non-confrontational, or he could be selfish, just outright selfish and not looking at you as a partner. So how do you get him to wake up and smell the coffee, as it were, and be a better husband who considers you more when it comes to making big decisions, be it concert tickets or your parents coming or his parents coming over? The truth is you need to have strong boundaries, and you need to bring this up in a non-conflict style to try to have a productive conversation. Sometimes you can't help it. If he says, oh, my parents are coming and they're here, and suddenly they walk through the door and they're there for a week, you're going to have to talk about it right away. But if you have enough time to write a random guy on the internet like me about this situation, chances are it's not right in the heat of the moment. You've had some time to think about this, and you need to be able to do that with him too. So you get to the point where you're having a decent day. I won't say you have to wait for a great day, but not in the middle of a conflict and say, listen, we need to talk about this. I get frustrated when you buy concert tickets or you invite your parents to say, and you don't ask me if I'm okay with it. I'm not saying that I am the ultimate ruler and whatever I say goes, but if I have a problem with it, we need to discuss it, and you need to show me your side of things and I need to show you my side of things, and we need to come to a place where we can agree. And if we can't agree, we keep arguing for a little bit, and that's okay. We'll stay calm. I'll give you as much time as you need to express your opinion, and I assume and I hope that you'll do the same for me, and then we'll have to make a decision together. Usually, if you can do that, by the way, if you can give each other enough time to make your concerns met, usually, I would say 70, 80% of the time, you guys will come to an agreement. There will be some times where you don't agree and someone's going to have to cave or compromise, but that's okay. That's part of being a couple. The problem is he's not used to having that conversation. So that's why you have to explain to him everything that I just kind of laid out. The second thing is if somebody is really going to cross a boundary, I don't know how expensive the concert tickets are, but I generally tell couples there's a threshold every couple has based on how much they earn, how much they have or earn, and their risk aversion and saving habits, right? So if you are, broke, spending $100 on concert tickets will seem exorbitant and ridiculous and even irresponsible. If you're worth $100 million, why would you bother someone with $100 purchase? You're gonna drive each other crazy with constant little nuance. Another way to think about it is if you were in like a candy store where everything was a penny, even if you were broke and the person said, I spent 5 cents on some licorice, you'd be like, who cares? It's 5 cents. You probably had a nickel sitting in the cup holder of your car. Like, you don't have to tell me, right? It's a question of where you're at. Now, risk aversion and spending habits and kind of your mentality around money might also kind of be connected to this. But you're calling it a big decision. So my assumption is that the concert tickets were expensive enough to warrant a big decision. And so you need to come to an agreement with each other on what that threshold is. Is it $100? Is it $1,000? Is it $500? Is it $50? Is it $20,000? Like, every couple is going to have a different set of what is comfortable. Generally speaking, I would say most couples, if you're going to spend, if you're comfortable financially, if you're not comfortable, different story. But if you're comfortable financially, you're making ends meet, and there's a little bit left over at the end of every month, usually it's somewhere between $200 and $700, where it's like, if it crosses this line, we should talk about it, right? If my wife called me because she spent $200 taking the kids out to dinner, I'd be like, you took the kids out to dinner. Right? But on the other hand, if she wanted to buy herself like a nice piece of clothing for $200, it's on the border. It's on the border. Like, okay, like, would I buy something like that for myself and not tell her? I'd feel a little weird about it. Right. And we're comfortable, but like, I'm a little fiscally conservative. So you have to decide where that level is for yourself. When it comes to people coming over and staying, you can create similar guidelines. I would like 3 days notice. If someone needs to stay over for 1 day or 2 days, maybe in your family with your husband, that never needs an extensive conversation because it's an overnight. And so as long as there's a day or 2 or 3 heads up, it's not even a conversation. If someone wants to stay for more than 4 days, that's the threshold. Let's talk about it. Why? What's going on? Who is it? Right? That's a bigger conversation. So you can make these guidelines with each other. And the truth is, there's going to be an infinite amount of guidelines. There's going to be an infinite amount of guidelines. What do we do if we find out our son was ditching school? What do we do if a doctor recommends psychiatric medication to one of us or one of our children? Right? Things pop up in life. You can't know everything that's going to come up beforehand. So you're going to have to make new guidelines again and again and again. But more important than the guidelines themselves and figuring out where these thresholds are is learning how to talk to each other and say, I'm uncomfortable with this. You need to talk to me before they make decisions. And what's the boundary? If they start making these decisions after you have a conversation like that and they continue to do it, they just continue to have, this who cares what you think, I'm going to do what I want kind of attitude in the relationship, you need to have a consequence in place. You need to take yourself out of the relationship to some extent. I talk about this all the time on Instagram, on TikTok. If a boundary is crossed, where is the repercussion? If you're in an adult, healthy relationship, the only leverage you have is taking yourself out of the relationship. And again, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's permanent, and anything in between. You might just need to say, okay, you invited your parents over. They're staying. I'm uncomfortable with that. If you do it again, I won't be here if they sleep over. And then you're going to have the awkward moment of your parents saying, where's your wife? And I'm going to say, I don't know. She got upset because you're staying, and it's going to be awkward for you. And the pain of the consequence of losing you in some way should be greater than the pain of confronting the issue with you from the start. If it's not, they'll take the easy road out every single time. If you make the consequence easier to deal with than the confrontation, they're just going to keep doing it, especially if they're confrontation averse, especially if that's who they are in their personality. So you're not doing it to be punitive. You're doing it because you need them to realize that as uncomfortable as the confrontation is, it's something that you need to have. And if not, they're just making their own lives worse because you're not going to tolerate it. I hope that answers your question. Again, if you have a question, there's information on how to send me that in the description below. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.